On air from Nashville, it's me, Ruthe.
And on air from Seattle, it's me, Tim Tackett. Welcome to the Let It Be podcast. In today's episode, we have a deeply moving conversation about endurance and the kind of courage that can only be forged through unimaginable loss. Our guest is Ron Neal, a Tennessee rancher, horse trainer, stunt performer, and actor whose life on the surface looks rugged and cinematic. But behind this story is a journey marked by profound heartbreak. After enduring unimaginable loss, injustice, grief, and heartbreak, Ron shares how he found the courage to keep going. And yet through it all, Ron's story is not ultimately about defeat. It's about resilience. It's about wrestling with grief, learning to release bitterness, and finding peace that doesn't always make sense from the outside. In this conversation, Ron shares what it means to keep living, keep believing, and keep showing up even when life has taken almost everything. This is an episode about spiritual courage, and for those who feel exhausted from carrying pain too long.
Good morning, brother.
Good morning.
How are you?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. It's a beautiful Seattle day. Looking outside, the sun is shining, and just happy to be spending time with my sister once again.
Ah, you're so sweet.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I am trying to actually take some deep breaths as we get ready for this conversation today, because it's going to be a big one.
It's heavy, and when I came out to visit you last, we got the opportunity to sit down and have dinner with Ron, and just cool guy. Like what a lifestyle this guy lives. And you know, when
Yes.
people hear his story, there's any guy is gonna just be like, yes, wow, how do
Well,
I
you
sign up for
certainly
that?
were.
I was loving it. Yeah, and I've seen that video,
Mhm.
My Normal, which was on YouTube.
Yes.
And
The one that
people,
you were drooling over, you mean that one?
I mean, who doesn't want 300 acres in the fall going through the property with your
Sipping the
horses and your
coffee.
dog, sipping the coffee? Yeah, what a life.
Yeah.
But he's also had some tragedy.
Yes. And the way his courage is displayed. As part of our courage series, we talked about different kinds of courage.
We did.
Do you remember what those are?
I do. Yeah, it was moral courage, emotional courage, physical courage, and social courage.
But I do believe we left one off
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's spiritual courage.
Yeah.
And that is being in tune with you and God. And though Ron and I we're actually part of the same club, the Broken Heart Parents Club. When Ron shared his full story, it was a whole different level of spiritual courage that this man has walked.
Yeah,
And what he's choosing, what he wants to share with us.
good point. Yeah, he's, opening up now, and he's choosing to share all of this with us. And we had never met him. He was someone who was introduced to us from a friend of yours. But I remember sitting, listening to his story and just thinking, how does this individual continue on? How does he keep going?
And I definitely asked myself that as we sat down with him. But I think when you listen to his story and you get to witness his faith, I think you're going to see and hear exactly how he keeps going. So I'd love to get this conversation started if you're ready, Tim.
I am. Yeah, he's in the lobby, so we can get in there and hold on, everybody, because you are going to be on the edge of your seat. You're going to be captivated. Ron Neal, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. How's everything going in Crossville?
It's going great. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Yeah. Are all the morning chores done and you're free for the next couple hours?
I've fed everything. I've got one horse injured. I've already doctored him today, so I got to do it twice a day. So I'll hit him again this evening. But
okay,
it's always you got 20 horses. It's always something,
20 horses. I didn't know you had that many.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot. How many people do you have on the ranch helping you?
just me right now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Tim and I would like to leave our day jobs, and one of us will be your left hand, and one of us will be the right
Hey,
hand.
come on. Come
Oh my
be
gosh.
here in November, and you guys can leave in March. That's when I have to feed hay every day.
Wow. I bet it gets cold.
Especially when Tim saw that YouTube video that you're in.
It was like You're Normal. It was that clothing brand.
Yeah.
And I watched that video and I was speechless. The whole video of just like, you're on a ranch, it's the fall, you're drinking a hot cup of coffee, you left your 9 to 5 job, you're on a horse, you're with your dogs. I
Yeah.
mean, every person, probably every dude that watches that video is like, man, I want to do that.
Well, every boy wants to grow up and be a cowboy. I just got to do it,
Yeah. When more than just a cowboy, so in your bio that you sent us, you raise and train horses. You have for some time. You're a horse wrangler, stunt performer. And I'm just going to I'm going to do some name dropping for you, which you can correct me. But
Okay.
you worked on projects like Logan, Fear Street, Underground, The Warrant, Old Henry. I just watched Old Henry too. That was a
Great
good movie.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil the ending because it's like, what?
No, it's so good.
Yeah. So were you actually in that movie in some parts?
Yes. Yeah. I am. And nobody, even my own cousin watched it. And he's like, Ron, you got to watch this movie called Old Henry. It's so wonderful. And I'm like, Andy, did you not see your cousin in it? I'm not going to spoil it either, but yes, I'm in it. And you can tell it's me, but
I'm going to go back and rewatch that. That's funny. Ballad of Davy Crockett, Blue Ridge. You've been in photo shoots and commercials with Cody Johnson, Lainey Wilson, Post Malone, Carrie Underwood, Shania Twain, Garth Brooks. It just
Okay, name dropper.
I told you I was going to name drop, but what a great list. And
been blessed.
what is that like? Just give us a rundown, because that's awesome, man.
Well, it is fantastic. I love what I do. I really do love what I do, and I'm a retired telephone man. I did that for 20 years, but I took an early retirement to go play in the movies, and I just very, very few people can sit at their work and just smile and be like, wow, I'm so thankful I'm here today. But I love it. I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work. And that old saying, find something that you love to do and do that, make that your job, and you'll never work a day in your life. That's the truth. That's how I feel. There is a lot of work involved and a lot of time and a lot of expense and upkeep, but I don't mind it at all. I love it.
So were you working with horses like at the same time you were with the phone company? That's always been in your life?
My mother says that I was riding before I was born. So I've always loved horses. I haven't always had horses, but I did ride as a kid. And then I bought my first horse when I graduated high school. And I've had horses ever since. I mean, we just ride all the time. And
what was your horse's
my first
name?
horse?
Yeah.
Tucker, old Tucker horse. I had him. I bought him when he was 2. And he died. He was 28 when he died. So we grew up together.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. So have you always been in Tennessee then?
I've always lived in Tennessee, but I've worked all over the country, everywhere.
Okay. So you have a 120-acre farm out in Crossville. Yeah. How often do you get to see all 120 acres?
I ride around it almost every day that I'm not on a job working. If I'm home, I'm training horses. Wow. And I've got a big trail that goes all the way around the property. And I've got 30 acres across the road down to a nice little creek. And, I do that loop, and then I'll come back, catch another horse and do that loop again, to keep them all trained and fresh,
That must be...
Sorry. I'm like, I think I see Tim drooling over here.
Yeah, it sounds, like a great way to spend your day. Just cruising around.
That's my dream. I'm living my dream. really.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask because I'm curious how it works. The horses in their, when they're on your property, they're calm. There's no noise, probably, maybe the occasional gunshot. But when you're on
Right.
set, there's a lot happening. And I can only
Good
imagine
question.
the trauma that horses must experience. And I'm sure that it's probably a big part of your job.
It is a very big, so I have to desensitize my horses to a lot of different things. Barrel racing horses, they race around barrels. Reining horses, they rein, cattle, the hunter jumpers, they jump over the obstacles. My horses have to do all kinds of things. One day we might be doing a chase through the woods in a gunfight, and the next day we might be chasing through a cemetery, and the next day we might be dragging somebody behind a horse or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I get a script, I'll read through it and, okay, well, we need to desensitize them to this.
Wow.
So we'll set that up and work on it.
Wow.
A lot that goes into the preparation and the training to get them
There
ready.
is.
Set
Yeah,
ready.
there is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
horses are they're really trained for a lot of different things. It makes for a good horse.
Are they well-rounded or are they specialized? Like one is good for this, one's good for that.
I have several that are well-rounded, but I have a few that are special. My favorite horse, well, I don't know, he's my favorite. He's one of my favorites.
You shouldn't have a favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't let them hear it.
Favorite of the hour.
Right. Well, he is he's very special. His name is Whiskey. He's my black rearing horse. He'll rear up on command and he punches it out his front legs.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And he's just, not everybody can ride Whiskey because he's not fully broke, but he sure is fun.
Oh.
Wow. Is he the one from the video, the normal video?
He's in Old Henry. I'm riding him in Old Henry.
Okay. So, just because I haven't seen it, I'm going to go ahead and pour myself a glass of whiskey and wait for when I get to see Ron riding whiskey. Yes. And then that'll be like a full circle moment for me.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but he is the only horse that rears up and I'm on him. So I'll just leave it at that.
So I can't miss
it.
Good identifier. Okay, good.
Right.
One last question for you in your bio. You listed that you're a member of SAG. I'm curious what SAG is.
Yeah. The Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, okay.
I'm a stunt performer. And, once you do so many things on film, they strongly encourage you to join SAG. We'll put it that way.
Strongly.
Yeah.
Encourage.
Yeah.
I do want to put a plug in too, for that YouTube video. Anyone that's listening right now should watch that. You're going to get a lot of people reaching out saying, when do I get to come to your ranch and ride
I get
horses?
it all the time, brother.
Do you?
People ask me all the time. I just say, come on. We'll put you to work.
Oh, I love it.
As part of the show, what we want to do to connect your story is Ruthe wrote a book, and it's called Never Give Up. She has what's called learned wisdoms, and she breaks down these learned wisdoms in all of our shows. They focus on these learned wisdoms and certain words. And so, Ruthe, if you wouldn't mind reading that.
I'd love to. When your worst fear stares you in the face, don't turn away. If you can find the courage to look it in the eye, you've accepted God's great gift of strength. When we share this learned wisdom, we think of courage as part of our courage series and the word accept. We've sat here and we've shared laughter, but there was over a decade where you have spent not laughing and truly had to look fear in the eye and accept it. Could you share with us your story?
Sure. My life was pretty much normal, so to speak, up until I was 29 years old, which was 2004. I say normal other than my father left when I was a young child. He left my mother and 4 children, left us to starve to death. But unfortunately, that's a pretty common tale here in America these days. But aside from that, I'd never had any real great loss close to me. But in 2004, I married the woman of my dreams, We both just absolutely loved each other. We went on trips, and we'd go to the lake on weekends, and we'd go horseback riding, and we just laughed all the time together. And we had all these hopes and dreams. We lived in an old farmhouse on the 300-acre farm that her grandmother had given her and her brother. And we were going to build a house down by the lake, and, wanted to raise babies and have a big family. And then just a couple of months after our wedding, we got a letter in the mail from a judge that stated basically he was going to take our farm from us and give it to her stepmom, who had absolutely no legal right to this property whatsoever. So we spent the next 8 years of our marriage trying to save our home, going to court hearings and meeting with attorneys and all this terrible stuff. Our kitchen table was littered with court documents, and it really put a strain on our marriage, as you can imagine. And during that time, in 2009, I was on a hunting trip in Colorado with my brother, Randy. And we were on horseback, and we split up at daylight. And a few minutes later, the mule that he was riding came to our horses, and I later went looking for him. And when I found him, he was dead. He'd had a terrible head injury from having an accident on this mule. And through the course of the day, that day, I was severely abused and mistreated by the law enforcement officers that showed up to help me. And so fast forward a couple of years after that, in 2012, that judge that thought it was a good idea to take our home from us kicked me and my wife and our 2 daughters out into the street, and we had to start over with nothing. We didn't even have a place to live. So we did. We started over, and couple of years after that, I bought a new farm, built a big brand new house for my family. The girls had their own bedrooms and their own bathrooms. And then just a couple of short years after that, my oldest daughter, Sienna, developed cancer. And in her nasopharynx, she had nasopharyngeal carcinoma, it's a very deadly cancer. It's inoperable. Chemo and radiation treatments only. So then we had to dig in and just for the next several months battle this terrible cancer just to save our baby girl, And within a year, the woman who I loved more than anything decided she didn't want to be married anymore. So she divorced me. She wanted to go have her fun, and her fun didn't include me. So that was another terrible thing. And 2 years after our divorce, we buried my oldest daughter, Sienna. She actually beat the cancer up until that point, but she couldn't beat the cancer treatments. She had holes all in her nose and her throat, and one morning she aspirated and she went unconscious, and the first responders were able to revive her, but she had no cognitive brain function after that. So we had to let her go home, be with the Lord. And that was in 2022. So it was actually almost 2 decades, I guess, of all those terrible things happening, one right after another.
When Tim and I sat with you, your faith shined so great. How does a man like you experience all of this and not give up? Or did you give up your faith?
I never gave up my faith. I've had a lot of questions, and I've had doubt, and I've had you know, I don't even know the right word. I've questioned a lot of things, but I never gave up on God, because I don't believe God did this to me. I think if had it not been for God and my belief and my faith, I wouldn't be here today telling the story. So I really don't understand how people get through things like this without God. And I'm so thankful I had this faith that my mother taught me when I was a kid. I'm grateful to her that I knew him and knew how to go to him during all these things.
Going back to your brother, if I could.
Yeah.
This was in 2009 when this happened.
Yes, ma'am.
You shared that you were severely treated horribly. Let's dive into that a little bit and
Sure.
learn a little bit more about that, if that's okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, we split up at daylight, and the mule came to us, and I didn't immediately go looking for my brother, because my friend that was with us, he said, "You think he's okay?" And I said, "Of course, it's Randy. He's the toughest guy I know and the best rider of all of us. So why would I be worried about him?" And, but eventually he wasn't answering the radio. So I said, "Well, I'm going to go find him." And, when I did find him, he was laying down off a steep embankment. And, I, when I got up to him, he was dead when I found him. And I immediately went into shock, and I didn't realize that at the time. But there's things that I don't remember, but the things that I do remember, I remember them very vividly. But it was almost like time skipped that day. And so I had to meet my friend in the meadow. He finally came to me. I told him what happened. I just told him, Randy's dead. He's laying up on the hillside. And I just took off to town. I had to go. I had to help him somehow. So I jumped on my horse, and it was about a 2-hour ride down the mountain into the town in Colorado, the town of Redstone. And when I got to the town, nobody was outside. It was a beautiful day. It was like 60-degree weather, sunny, beautiful. This was in October. And I'm running through the town. I finally see a couple of guys and pull in there, and I'm sure I was a complete mess, but they helped me call 911. And they also helped me call my mother. I had to call my mother and tell her that Randy was dead. And if that was all I had to do or experience that day, it would have been enough. Just telling my mom that her son was dead. But when the police showed up, a friend of mine that does outfitting in the area, he also showed up. And if I had thought about it, I would have rode to his house, but I wasn't thinking. I was just trying to get someone to help me. But when the police showed up, they were, I didn't understand things at first, but they weren't doing things properly. No, none of the officers went up to find or help my brother. In fact, they tried to stop my buddy. His name is Randy also. They tried to stop him from going, and I couldn't understand why they would do that. And he defied their orders and said, "Hey, you're going to have to shoot me. There's a hurt man on the mountain. I'm going up there." And gave him a camera and said, "We'll take pictures of the scene." And they even stated, when they tried to stop him, they said, "Stop, I've got a crime scene." And I'm thinking, crime scene? What are you talking about? I've told you everything that I know. But the other search and rescue people showed up. They didn't even know where the trailhead was. They didn't know how to get up to where he was. So I had to help them, show them on a map how to get up there. And I was just so confused as to why these people were so incompetent and couldn't do their job properly and just weren't taking care of things, And I remember one point specifically that they said, one of the officers was there with me, and he put me on the phone with a 911 operator or someone in the sheriff's department. And she asked me, she said, "Is your brother dead or alive?" And I could hear a helicopter. And I saw the helicopter hovering above. And I said, "He's dead." She said, how do you know? And I said, "Well, I touched his face. He's dead. I know." She said, "Well, did you check his breathing? Did you check his pulse?" I said, "No." And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did I leave was he not dead? I didn't check these things, you know? And I said, I said, "He's dead." And she said, "Okay." And a few minutes later, the helicopter turned around and flew back to town. Yeah, I still can't even believe that. And they could have landed a helicopter in that meadow. It's, you know, there was plenty of room for that. And it was a 5-minute walk up to where he was laying.
So was it not a search and rescue portion, or was it just the sheriff's?
It should have been.
But it was not.
Well, they started it. I mean, I really don't know what they were thinking. I mean, they sent the search and rescue team and they sent the helicopter. And when you buy a hunting license in Colorado, you pay for the search and rescue. It's like a quarter or 50 cents. And Randy paid his search and rescue fee, and he should have had the helicopter along with every other resource available to help him and to help me. But I think that they didn't want to. I don't know why they didn't want to land the helicopter, and they could have went right to him. But, you know, I had no.
You're like, I'm in shock listening now, and this wasn't there. I can't even begin to imagine what that felt like for you.
Yeah.
Well, I was completely alone. My friend that was with us went back up with, you know, my friend that lived in Colorado. He went back up the mountain to go try to find Randy, my brother. And so I'm there alone, and I'm having to tell these people how to do their job, and I can barely stand up. I remember sitting on the ground on my knees, just rocking back and forth, digging a hole in the dirt and waiting. My family here in Tennessee were trying to get flights to come help me. And I remember being so thirsty. You know, it's very dry in Colorado. It's a very dry climate. I was so thirsty. And one of the officers pitched a bottle of water to me. And I tried to pick it up, but I couldn't hold the water bottle. I was shaking so badly. And he even put that in his report. I gave a water bottle to Mr. Neal, but he could not drink it. He was shaking too badly. I did not assist him drinking. They wouldn't even help me drink water. So I knew there was a creek behind the house. So I crawled over to the creek. I wanted some water. And when I saw that water in the creek, I just wanted to wash my face and put my face in it, took some drinks of water. It was the only thing that would have just eased my pain just a little bit and gave me some comfort. And as soon as I stepped down into the creek, one of the officers grabbed me around the neck in a chokehold, and another one grabbed my right arm, which I just had shoulder surgery on, and he's twisting it up behind my head. I mean, really hurting me. And I told him to let me go. I just had surgery, and he did it even harder. And I could not understand why they were doing this to me. They had given me no orders or hadn't no directions on anything to do. I was just trying to drink out of the creek, and they were hurting me so badly. I had to get them off of me. So I jumped up and threw them on the ground, and then here they came. They tackled me. One officer, I'm not going to mention any names, but one officer, he was the one in charge. I don't know why, I felt like he just really hated me for some reason. And but he was hitting me in the face with his taser gun. I'll tase you. I'll tase you. And he was so angry that the first officer that showed up to help me, he actually restrained him. So he's having to be restrained by another officer. He's so out of control. And he's screaming, cuff him, cuff him. So they put handcuffs on me in the front. And they get me up. And now I'm hurting. My shoulder's hurting. I'm even more thirsty. And I'm in chains now.
Wow.
And I remember saying, what crime have I committed? No crime. I said, then take these off of me. You have no authority over me. No, they're staying on. So my day just went from horrible to even worse. So I begged them to take them off. Even the one officer that had to restrain the other officer, he actually asked the superior officer if they would take the handcuffs off of him. He said, can we please just take the cuffs off of him? No, he's screaming at him. No, they're staying on. I don't know why. I don't know what was wrong with this man, but he had such anger and hatred and no self-control. And he took it out on me for some reason. But so they put me in the car and take me to their station. Now I'd spent all day there with these guys. And by the time we got to their station, it was getting dark. And I remember a lady showed up. I didn't know her, but she showed up to just sit there with me. And she didn't know what to do or what to say, but maybe she was with a church or I don't know who she was, but she was trying to comfort me. So now I'm sitting, they let me go. They took the handcuffs off of me and let me go. So now I'm sitting in the courthouse lawn at night, freezing to death. And because it gets cold, 60 degrees during the day, 20 degrees at night, the extreme differences. And she said, Ron, we can go inside. There's a room. I said, I don't want to be around those people. She said, no, we can go in the back. It'll just be us. We can wait for your family to fly in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. We went into the back and they brought a cup of warm water. And it was the first water I'd had all day. So I'm trying to sip this water. A man walks in, he sits down and he says, Ron, I know that your brother's death was an accident. There was a triangular rock there that he hit his head on. And I just need to get some information. And I said, okay. Turns out he was the coroner. And I'm not sure if he was on the helicopter or what, but the helicopter did return just before dark. And they were able to get my brother out of the mountain that night. And so he's asking me questions, like what's his name, what's his social, what's his date of birth. And while he's doing this, my hands went numb and the room started going black. And I said, I think I'm going to pass out. And the lady who's with me said, do you think he's in shock? Maybe he's in shock.
That's not funny.
And,
I mean, we're laughing, but just.
Yeah, it is funny. It's, yeah. Of course I was in shock. And the coroner got up from his desk and I thought, well, he's going to call an ambulance for me and I will go. I need to go. I need some help. And I hear all these chains and things rattling in the hallway. I didn't know what it was, but I'm trying to just gain consciousness. I'm about to black out. And he comes back in and sits down in front of me. He says, Ron, they want your clothes. And I said, my clothes? And I look over and here comes all these other officers with billy clubs and chains and shackles and whatever. They all come in the room. And I said, they can't have my clothes. He said, if you don't give them your clothes, you're going to be arrested and you will not be able to see your family. And in that moment, I was about to pass out, and I just went to rage. I couldn't believe they were doing this to me. I jumped up and just started ripping off my clothing and throwing it at them. And I said, "You want my clothes? Here you go." And it was down to my underwear. And I walked out of the room. They parted ways. They got their clothing. They got what they wanted. And on the way out, there was a cell blanket, an old gray cell blanket they had on the chair. And I grabbed it and I wrapped it around my body. And I went to the door, and the door was locked. And I said, "Let me out now. I want out." And it took them a minute to get it unlocked. Then they let me out. Now I'm standing outside their police station, barefooted, with this cell blanket wrapped around me. And I didn't know where to go. Of course, I'm crying. And one of them runs out, and they're like, no, Ron. We want your underwear too. So I had to take off my underwear, throw it at him. He put it in a bag. So now I'm standing naked outside their police station with a blanket wrapped around me. And I take off walking across the parking lot, and here comes the coroner and another officer. And the coroner said, and he said, I'll drive you to see your family to the Aspen airport. This was in Pitkin County, Colorado. And I get in his car, and I said, "What are we waiting on? Let's go." Because we were just sitting there. He said, the officer, and this was the one who put me in handcuffs and beat me up by the creek, "We're waiting on him to get here." And I said, no, we're not. I don't want to see him. We're leaving. And so they took me to the airport. We got out of the car. Now there's like 6 or 7 cops. I don't know. There's several cops walking around me, kind of escorting me through all these people that had just got off the airplane, and they're kind of parting ways, looking at me because I'm naked with a cell blanket walked around me, walking through all these people at the airport to meet my family. And I look across and I see my other brother, Lewis. I see him getting in a car, and I ran over and started beating on the window. And they opened the door, and I got in with my family. And I told them to just go. Let's go, get out of here. And my wife was there, my mother was there, my sister, my brother, and my brother's wife, who was pregnant with their second child. My brother Randy, who passed away, it was his wife, was there. And my wife later told me that she said that I wasn't blinking. She was watching my face, and I didn't blink for
you're in
a
shock.
long time. I was in shock.
Absolutely.
And
how do you overcome this? We're now in 2026, and this was in 2009.
Yeah.
And we shared laughter earlier. How did you learn to laugh again? Did you have PTSD? How long did it? I mean, there's so many questions I have. I don't even know which one to ask first.
Well, the death of my brother alone was just devastating to me. He was my best friend. We did everything together. We worked together. We hunted together. We played music together.
Mm-hmm.
We just did everything. Yeah, he was my best friend. So that alone was just completely devastating for me. But the rage of what they did to me, it compounded my grief. It didn't just make it worse. It compounded it to a point where I think that I went a little bit crazy because of it. I got home. And of course, during the week of the funeral, you have all these friends and everybody comes over. There was a lot of people that came to Randy's funeral. Everybody loved Randy. And he loved everybody. He was just one of those guys. He was always positive, always smiling, always happy, and always friendly. If you were talking, you were the most important person in the room. And it didn't matter if you were a millionaire or a special needs person. He took time with everybody. He was a special person. And So when I, after the funeral, I remember sitting in my kitchen and I was so angry and so anxious. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't getting any help. Everybody had said all the wrong things when somebody close to you dies, and nobody was saying any good things or the right things. People stopped showing up for the most part. So I just took off one day. I just took off running. I just opened the sliding door and took off running around the farm. And when I got back, I sat down. That felt good. I'm going to go run again. So I just constantly ran all the time, trying to exhaust my body because I couldn't shut my mind off. And fast forward, I was running around. We lived on that 300-acre farm, and there was a big lake on it. And I remember one day I'm running around the lake and I'm screaming out loud and I'm punching the air and I'm kicking and I'm fighting these cops the day of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And how long do you think this was into it?
This was about 10 months after my
Okay.
brother.
Okay.
Yeah. And I caught myself and I'm like, what am I doing? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have been doing this every day for the last 10 months. I didn't even realize it.
Wow.
But I had such a hatred for those police officers. It was.
Were you seeking therapy at this point?
I did. I went to the wrong guy. He was a great listener and he was great at taking my credit card, but he never helped me. And, I went to a few pastors, but it seemed like nobody knew what to tell me. Nobody could help me. Nobody had any answers for me. It was like they were in shock listening to my story.
Yeah.
And so I never got the help I needed, from any kind of professional. But
it is a remarkable story.
When you said you're carrying this in your head and you're dealing with this every day, how are you today, Ron Neal? We're sitting here enjoying and laughing but how did you overcome that? And when did that happen?
That's a good question. It took about 3 years for me to finally forgive these people. And I will say this, I stopped laughing. My wife and I used to laugh all the time, but we stopped laughing after we got that letter in the mail saying that the judge was going to take our farm. Everything was serious then. It was all business, trying to save our home.
3 years later, after your
Well,
brother passed?
that was in 2004. My brother died in 2009.
Okay.
So for the 3 years after my brother's death, there was a time where I was in such a state of grief. I wasn't even aware that I was here. And the best way to describe it is the house could have burnt down with me around it. And I would have just said, oh, well, the house is on fire. That's cool. I remember my wife would come and hold my hand and then she'd just get up and I wouldn't even realize that she did it until she was gone.
Wow.
And the only little joy that I had was my girls, especially my youngest. I was closer with her. My oldest daughter is not my biological daughter, but I raised her since she was 2, but I only got to see her every other week. And my youngest daughter, she was my shadow. She went with me everywhere. And but how did I overcome it? I finally had to, I came to a realization that hatred, that poison was poisoning me. And there's a saying that, hatred's like drinking poison and hoping they die from it. And that's what was happening to me. I was drinking that poison of hatred. And I gave it back to God, my hatred.
Did you ever think of ending your life? Were you ever at that point of depression or anger?
I mean, I think everybody thinks about that at some point, but no. I mean, no, not really, because I had a wife and 2 girls that depended on me no matter what, and I wasn't going to leave them. I had to be there for them. And as bad as I wanted away from this grief, there's no way I could leave these 2 precious little girls in this evil world for something like this to happen to them. There's no way I was going to leave them. And I realized too, it didn't matter where I went. My grief was going to be, I could be on the moon. My grief would be right with me.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm impressed, Ron, that even through all of that trauma, your ability to remain emotionally intelligent and recognize like you've got daughters, a wife, and responsibility. I think a lot of people lose focus of those things. And I'm curious how would you continue to remind yourself of that or kind of, I'll say, snap out of it?
Well, like I said, my father walked out on me when I was 5. He left us to starve to death, but there's no way I'm doing that. Absolutely no way. This world, this is a evil world. There's some good things in this world, but when police officers that you call to help you show up and beat you up and put you in chains and strip you naked instead of helping you drink water.
Yeah.
No way. I'm not leaving my girls in this world to have to deal with things like that by themselves. No way.
I just keep thinking about, as you've shared this, and you shared it with Tim and I when we met you for dinner that night here in Nashville. It's a horror movie that doesn't seem to be real. And so how isolating that is for you as a human being to say nobody understands. This is how bad it was. And
right.
And how, like, I'm listening and I feel like my faith is strong, but did you ever feel like you just really wanted to, and not necessarily take your life, but give up? Like, how did you learn to smile and live again? When did you feel like you looked in the mirror and go, wow, I'm seeing joy today. I'm seeing beauty. I love life again.
Yeah.
When did that start happening?
Well, that, and I know you've experienced loss and grief, and you might can understand this. I was in a place after it happened. I felt like I was the image in the mirror looking out at the world. I could see your world, but nobody could see my world. They couldn't see it from my perspective. And, bumper stickers, life is good. It used to make me mad. I couldn't listen to music. People would say, look at that beautiful sunset. And I was like, what's beautiful about it? But I had an encounter, so many times I would lay out in the field at night and just cry out to God for some relief. And it just seemed like he just was ignoring me. And I just kept crying out to him. And one day I was at a church function, and I didn't ask God for anything. I gave that hatred and that anger and that grief and that bitterness and that sorrow all to him. And it left me. It really did leave me in an instant. And, I said hatred earlier. Bitterness is probably the worst of all of those. The Bible describes it as the root of bitterness. It's a root, and it had grown up in me to a huge tree. So bitter at life, everything.
Understandably.
So bad. We would be out to dinner eating, sitting there with my family trying to have a normal life, and officers would come and sit down at the table, and we would immediately get up and walk off and leave our food. I couldn't be around them. I couldn't look at them.
I was going to ask how long it took you to be able to even trust, or if you do to this day trust officers.
No, sir, I don't trust officers. I'm kind to them and I'm nice to them. And I'm respectful to them, but I don't trust them at all. How could I? They showed up. I called for help. They showed up with all these guns and tasers and handcuffs and they showed up with those tools, and that's the tools they wanted to use. They didn't show up to help a fellow human being.
Mm-hmm.
They treated me inhuman. They dehumanized me.
Do you not think that was just them? Not all officers are like that and can be trusted?
Sure. Yeah. I think that I'm not saying all officers are bad. I'm not saying that. I think there is a problem with authority. If you have authority, you should be held accountable. You should be held to a higher standard than people who don't have authority. And you should have to answer for that. They never even had to answer for it. I tried to sue them, and we did. We filed a lawsuit because they violated my civil rights. At the very least, they violated my civil rights. But the attorney she called me one day and said, "Ron, we're going to lose this case." I said, "How can we lose? They didn't tell the truth in their police reports. This one contradicts this one, and this one, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. This one told some things that were not true in his." And she's like, "It doesn't matter. We don't have video. If you had video, we would have a chance, but you don't have any video." Now, why is it? Why do we live in America, in a country where we have to have video to hold people accountable for their actions? It's a shame, But it's, for whatever reason, we withdrew I didn't want to go through a lawsuit anyway. I was already dealing with one over our farm. And I know how, let's just say, I know how injustice plays out in the courtroom. I saw it with our farm. And I had no faith in the court system. We didn't get justice. In fact, one of the attorneys that worked on our case said, "There is no justice. There's no justice." And he was right. I've lived it. There's no justice.
So
in this life anyway.
No accountability for the officers or the precinct. And
None.
They took your clothes. They didn't have any evidence of wrongdoing. They just moved on. You never heard anything after that, and like kind of no closure.
I filed a formal complaint, and the newspaper picked it up, and everybody in the area knew about it. But the sheriff didn't even return my phone call or file a response to my complaint. I got nothing from them.
Do you have peace? Because I hear a little bit still of anger and rightfully, wasn't a comment to be disrespectful, but I also believe in that day when you said you called out, you released everything. That was a form of surrendering, that when we truly give it to God, He can take it from us just like that quickly.
Yeah.
And do you think you're at peace right now?
Absolutely. I have peace. I have joy. All these terrible things. I buried my daughter 4 years ago, but I can look at a sunset. I can listen to music. I laugh at bumper stickers. I love to laugh. I need to laugh.
Yes,
and
laugh more.
Yeah, exactly. But am I angry? Yes, ma'am. And rightfully so. I'm angry about the judge wrongfully taking our farm. I'm angry about what the police officers did to me that day.
Absolutely.
I can't be angry at cancer.
Yeah.
It has no mind of its own, I guess you could say. but some things could be prevented. I'm angry a little bit about my divorce, even though I'm happier now. But it's okay to be angry. God said to be angry and sin not. So yeah, I have a righteous anger, I believe, and it's hard to tell the story with those details and not get angry about it.
And having peace does not mean that the pain did not exist and still does exist, because you can't just get rid of that pain. It still creeps up in different ways, and not that you're taking it back from God, but it's constant. You have to continuously surrender that pain to Him.
Exactly. Yeah, I still cry over my daughter. I've been missing her more so the last few months, and dealing with that, the last few months. I still cry over my brother, uh, I have peace about it, and I've accepted it, and I'm able to move on, but you don't ever really you don't just get over it, and you learn to live with it. You learn.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like you self-regulate yourself in those moments. So how do you, when it creeps in, right? When the anger, frustration, or whatever feeling creeps in, I'm curious, how do you sit with it? What's your, I guess maybe regulation isn't a good word, but like self-therapy. How do you sit with it?
If I'm out here working on my farm or wherever, I let it happen. I'll sit and cry for a few minutes. Sometimes the only way to let the storm, to get rid of the storm, is to let it pass. Let the storm happen and get up and move on with your day. But if you don't, I have learned for myself anyway, I have to let these emotions come out. Whether I could be laughing and having a good day, and then something trigger it, and I'm over there on my knees crying for a few minutes, and that's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have, it's okay to have those moments, and then, I'll go back to laughing. We can't change the past. I've learned that. I used to dwell on the past. That was my biggest problem after my brother died, was dwelling on the past.
Were you looking for answers?
I think I was looking for answers. I was looking for a way I was trying to reason why, how these things happen.
To justify or.
Yeah. And I would never get there. I was just spinning my wheels, kind of like our farm. It was wrong. It was unjust. The judge made a bad decision. And I will say this, he took 2 years and 3 months to make a decision after it went to trial. He called our attorney up and said, the judge called me and said, "I'm sorry I hadn't made a decision in this case. Can you tell me what happened?" If that's not an injustice, I don't know what is. Yeah. And he was never held accountable either. So when I'm trying to reason these things through, or when I was back then, I would always just get right back to where I started. It never made any sense. Our farm lawsuit never made any sense. What those officers did to me that day, it didn't make any sense. Usually when something happens, a car accident or anything, and you call for help, you call 911, well, people show up and they help you. You immediately get help. I didn't. I was tormented. And, when 911 fails you, you can't call 1011. Who are you going to call? I had no family there with me.
So you said you kept reliving, dwelling, answering, and the wheels kept spinning and you couldn't get any further. You were just stuck. And then you released it. When you released it, do you feel that that's when your peace journey started?
Absolutely.
Did you keep searching for answers, or did you continue to go? You did not.
I did not. I wasn't going to get an answer. There's no answer to this. I asked God to take this from me so many times, help me, Lord. I need your help every day. And he didn't do it for almost a little over 3 years. But one day it left me like that.
So I have a question.
Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No.
I think, and this is rare of me, to ask a question that Tim would normally ask. And that is, if somebody didn't have faith. Now, I hear and I can relate to the fact of being purely exhausted when you have to carry pain for so long. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it
But
is.
somebody who's newly into grief, somebody who is going through a divorce, somebody who's exhausted, what advice could you give to them on how to not want to give up? Because somebody needs to hear that right now.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to give up because it's so heavy what they're
Yes.
carrying.
It is heavy. Losing a child is heavy. It's terrible. Losing your brother, it's terrible. It's awful. It's final. Death is final, at least in this life. It's final. We're not going to see those people again until we leave this life. But the divorce was harder on me than burying my brother and my daughter. And it was the death of my family. And it was a betrayal. Um, so how did I deal with these things? I dealt with it on my knees. I went to God constantly, and I held on to him, and I read his word, and I trusted him, and I never gave up my faith. I just kept hanging on. And I that's the answer. That is really the answer. I don't know how someone could deal with any one of these terrible things that I've had to deal with without God. I don't know how that they would even do it. So my answer is cry out to God, fight your battles on your knees.
I love that Ruthe asked that question because she started with it's a Tim question. So now I'm going to ask a Ruthe question.
Perfect.
So in our last episode that we just aired, Ruthe, I told Ruthe that I prayed. I've actually, since we started doing this, I've prayed a few times, and she asked me what it felt like. And did it feel like I was talking to someone or talking to myself? And I told her that it felt like I was talking to myself, which I do a lot anyways, but I just directed it towards someone else. And so you also said you lay in your field and you cried out to God, but you felt like he wasn't listening. So how do you know that he's listening or he's not listening or you're talking to yourself?
Because I'm sitting here right now having a conversation with you guys.
Bravo. Yes, there is hope for my brother Tim. Yes, Ron, beautiful answer.
Yeah.
But how would I know? How would anyone know in that moment? Like, I got out of my truck. I went about my day. I had the strength, whether it was God or me personally having the strength. Just curious, like, because Ruthe said it too, like, if you start looking for these things, you will see them. And I've got an open door. I look, but I just don't know what I'm looking for.
Good.
Does that make sense, Ron?
I love it. Look outside, brother. Look at this beautiful world. This is not an accident. You're not an accident. You're too intelligent. You're too important. There's no way that all of this world and the universe and your DNA is so complex. Your eyeball is so complex. Your mind is so complex. And there's no way this is an accident. There's a mind behind all of this. And this is a creation. You are a creation. You have a creator. And I believe that creator came here 2,000 years ago. His name's Jesus. And he showed us how to love each other and how to forgive each other. And that was a big thing for me too. I had to forgive those cops. I had to forgive them. I had to forgive the judge and that attorney for taking our farm. I had to forgive them because I need forgiveness. I need it. And I want to be forgiven too. But how do I know he's there? It's obvious to me. this is a creation. We live in it, and we are created in his image, just like the Bible says.
So you would believe that I'm gonna continue with my Ruthie questions here because I can see she's
Sure.
loving this. So you would believe that taking your ranch, the divorce, your brother dying, your daughter dying, and probably some more adversity sprinkled in there,
Yeah,
is
there are.
all you accept that because it's not for you to decide anything otherwise. It's for him. And maybe I'm rambling here, but
No,
it
keep
seems
going.
like
Keep
you know
going.
you understand you're who you are now. Those things have happened for a reason, and you're okay with it, and you don't hold any anger towards God.
That's an interesting statement. Somebody said that right after Randy's death. Everything happens for a reason, Ron. Well, you know what? I think there are reasons that things happen. I think that my divorce, my brother's death, our farm being wrongfully taken, my daughter getting cancer and then dying, I had no control over any of it. None. I
Mhm.
didn't cause them to happen. Now I had a hand in my divorce. I can admit that. I'm a human man. There's things that I did wrong, but I didn't quit. She divorced me. I did not divorce her. Um, I think that God did not cause these things to happen, but he allowed them to happen.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
through these terrible things that have happened to me and my family, his will and his whatever he's trying to do in my life, he will accomplish it. He will complete it. And it's for his greater good,
Mhm.
not mine. Now, I do believe Romans 8:28, and I know we wanted to talk about that. And
This is
that's
a
my
great
favorite
segue.
Bible verse.
You're right on track
No,
here.
Yeah.
we are going to ask you that
Yeah.
for your favorite Bible
So tell us.
verse.
Yeah.
Well, this is it, Romans 8:28, and I live by it. For we know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord, for those who are called according to his purpose. Not everything is good, brother, but God will work all these things together for good for me and for others that love him and for those who are called according to his purpose. This is for his purpose, not for my purpose. And I'm not going to quit him. I'm not going to give up on him. I've been through too
Never
much.
ever.
No. And
Mhm.
I don't, he didn't do this. He didn't do these things to me. He allowed them to happen, but why did they happen? We live in a broken world. We live in a fallen world, and there is evil here. But one day he's going to come back and fix all of this evil. He will
Ron, look
fix it.
into the camera real deeply for me. Oh, see that, Tim? That's called peace beyond all understanding.
There you go.
And that's how you know that God's at work in his life, because a person cannot live with peace beyond all understanding unless our peace comes from God, not because
That's right.
he won a court battle or got his wife back or his brother didn't have to die, his daughter's back, Sienna's back. It's because he's accepted that God is working all these things together and brought him
Amen.
joy again, and see a sunset and go on movie sets and
That's right.
drink whiskey and
Yeah.
live life again. How do you live life without crawling in a hole because you know that God rescued him? I couldn't resist. I
I do want to say something that has been it's something that I realized during my running and dealing with my brother's death. And I want to say this to help people.
Great.
You know, I know that a lot of people are just dealing with terrible losses and terrible tragedies, but here's a little bit of hope for everyone. There's a saying that everybody gets wrong, and the saying is live each day like it's your last day. That is completely wrong. Live each day like it's everyone else's last day, because you never know when that might be.
Wow.
And if we could all live like that and reciprocate that, we would have a much better world than we do.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know that Tim has a question. You said you couldn't listen to music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mom was a piano teacher, and we were all in the band, so we all played something. I'm a drummer, and I play guitar a little bit. So, yeah, I listen to music all the time.
Is it country? Is it all over the place? Like
Everything.
What's your go-to?
Well, right now it's reggae. I'm in the reggae thing right now. But
Okay.
I love. If it's good music, I like it. I'll listen to anything, country, rock. But I guess my favorite song is probably 1,000 Miles from Nowhere, Dwight Yoakam.
Yes. Man,
that's where I want to be. I want to be on a mountain 1,000 miles from nowhere, all by myself sometimes, and I love it. I have been back to Colorado several times hunting, and I went one year by myself. It was the best time I ever had. I went back up to where he died, back up in that meadow.
Wow.
And I never thought I would step foot back up there, but I had so much peace. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel anxious. And it was me and 3 horses and my dog. And I had the absolute best time of my life. It was fantastic.
So you truly accepted. You accepted everything. You faced fear. You looked it in the eyes.
That's right.
Might have taken you several years, but you didn't turn and run.
Well, I'm a slow learner. God has to get my attention,
Well, you're blinking again.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I'm blinking and laughing.
Yeah.
Wow. So as we conclude, is there anything, Ron, that you felt that you didn't share, or that you want to leave our listeners with any last thought?
I think just, sharing, live each day like it's your last, not like it's your last day, but like it's everyone else's last day. I think people see that, when I tell that to people, it really seems to resonate with them, because they're like, what, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I was living like it was my brother's last day. I gave him that mule to ride. His horse got hurt in the trailer, so I gave him that mule to ride, and I put him in the best spot because I wanted him to have the best experience and have a good, the best chance of killing a big elk. And, I was being selfless, loving him. And I think, other than just sharing my faith in Jesus, he told us that what are the two great commandments? To love him and love our neighbor, and our neighbor is everyone, even if they're wearing a badge.
That's right.
And that's, we should love each other, and we should forgive each other. I love to forgive people who've betrayed me and done me wrong. In fact, I would sit down with those police officers and buy them dinner if I could, and they're welcome at my home. They can come here. I'll take them on a horse ride.
Wow.
That's interesting. That's really big. A lot of people would never even be able to say that or even think it. So
we'll call that spiritual courage, because we didn't add that last week, Tim. So we talked about physical courage. We talked about moral courage, social courage, emotional courage. And Ron, you have displayed all of that. But I'd like to add to this list spiritual courage, because you didn't give up, and you gave in to accepting what had happened, but you never gave up. And that peace, that's spiritual courage. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've never heard that term before, but does that mean I get an A?
You get an A. You get an A plus today.
Ron, I'm just curious if there is a nonprofit that you wanted to bring attention to today.
We don't have one now, but my family, we were involved with the JCs. They kick you out when you're 40. I'm well past that. Yeah. So we used to do kids' Christmas. We would do rodeos and stuff and make money, and then go to all the schools and help the needy children, and buy them Christmas presents. And the JCs kind of disbanded, and my family, my sister Randy mainly, started a nonprofit, but we could only handle one school a year.
Mhm.
So we would, pick one school and get a list of the kids and take them Christmas shopping and do that for them. It's such a blessing, such a blessing.
Very cool.
But, after Randy died and my sister moved to Florida, and, we kind of stopped doing that, but it was called Kids Christmas. Is what we used to do.
Okay.
So maybe this year, I'll be accountable. If you're accountable, I will go donate to kids Christmas event. And maybe you can do it too, Ron. And Tim, you could do it. And we can all do it. And just do a prayer of thanks that we all got connected. And that feeling that's going to come from what we used to do, we could do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
I like
let's
that.
do that.
Okay.
It's an agreement.
Okay. All right.
And also, just before we say goodbye, I know we are going to have people reach out, Ron, who are going to want to know more about the story and have questions. So hopefully there's some time in the future where we can get you back on. Maybe even
I would love to.
Next time I'm in Nashville, we just all cram into the studio or
no,
here's
no,
a crazy
no
idea.
studio. Ranch. The ranch. We'll do it live on the ranch.
We'll do a live at the ranch. That would be
that's a
that
better
would be
idea.
a blessing.
Yeah, that would be a blessing.
Yeah.
I like that blessing language you're throwing in there, Tim.
Yeah, there's language that I use that Ruthe, like if I say I'm spiritual, she's like, how can you be spiritual if you don't believe in God? Or if I say, yeah, it's a blessing, like I use the terms, but they have a different meaning, I think.
You know what, Tim? I want to, when you come here, you and I are going to take a ride, because I want to talk to you. We need to talk. We need some guy time.
That sounds great.
I have some questions for you.
Have I already been
you can come too. No,
Okay.
you can come too. But I think I can say this just briefly. I am the most blessed man that I know. I'm so blessed. I have people that love me.
Amen.
I have friends. I have family. I have a home. I'm healthy. I can see. I'm so blessed and thankful. Very thankful.
Ron Neal, thank you.
Ma'am.
Yeah.
Thanks, you.
Ron.
Thank you guys for having me.
I told you it was going to be deep.
That was deep, very heavy, and so much to take from our conversation.
A true modern day version of the story of Job, for sure.
Oh, I guess I don't know the story of Job.
Well, I would love for you to look into this, but if I can give you a quick Job lost everything, his family, all his wealth, everything. And he went on a journey and was restored because of his faith. Because of his faith.
Yeah, I said it in the beginning, but I don't see how he just continues to keep going. And what a great guy. What a positive attitude. And, there's some things too that we actually didn't get to ask him. So I hope it's okay to bring him back on.
I would love it. I mean, I know he's fresh into his grief journey, but he really wanted to share about his brother. And that was something that I feel honored that he really opened up.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
authentic.
just the courage to open up to us.
Definitely spiritual courage. Actually, Tim, I think he hit all the courages.
Definitely hit all of them.
Yes, long episode today. And, but I would like to highlight a couple of things that are still sitting with me after this conversation. And something I can completely relate to is that you don't just get over grief, you learn to live with it. That is something that is oh so true.
Yeah,
Could you relate
I mean,
to
it's
that,
much
Tim?
harder. It's much harder in the beginning. It's more raw. You miss what was once in front of you or what you once had, and it gets easier. But you're still gonna have moments where you look back and you're sad, and We talked about it before. It's good to sit with it and name it to tame it, but
Well,
it
and
gets easier.
it will destroy you. It will, I think he even talked about that, like the bitterness that was poisoning him. But going back to learning to live with it, it's not that we don't miss our loved ones or love them any less, but that emptiness will destroy you if we do not learn to laugh again and have hope. And I definitely could relate to that.
Yeah, I think we've heard that message from a couple of our guests previously.
So, Tim, I know that as we wrap up this episode, that there's probably several directions of self-reflection questions you could leave us with. And did you come up with something?
I did. I really liked Ron's take on how people say, live life like it's your last day. And he said that's not right.
Live life to
He
the
said,
fullest.
live life to the fullest like it's your last day. But he actually says, treat others like it's their last day. So I think a good question to leave the listeners is, what do you need the courage to do? Jeez, I haven't even had a drink yet. What do you need the courage to do differently if you want to treat others like this day may be their last?
Until next time, goodbye, friends.
Thanks, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Did today's episode give you a little boost of hope and encouragement right when you needed it? If it did, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even share it with someone who could use a little light today. For extra content and more from this podcast, make sure to follow us at Instagram at letitbe.podcast. And remember, there's still beauty unfolding in your story.
I told you it was going to be deep.
That was deep, very heavy, and so much to take from our conversation.
A true modern-day version of the story of Job, for sure.
Oh, I guess I don't know the story of Job.
Well, I would love for you to look into this, but if I can give you a quick, Job lost everything, his family, all his wealth, everything. And he went on a journey and was restored because of his faith. Because of his faith.
Yeah, I said it in the beginning, but I don't see how he just continues to keep going. And what a great guy. What a positive attitude. And, there's some things, too, that we actually didn't get to ask him. So I hope it's okay to bring him back on.
I would love it. I mean, I know he's fresh into his grief journey, but he really wanted to share about his brother. And that was something that I feel honored that he really opened up.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean,
authentic.
just the courage to open up to us.
Definitely spiritual courage. Actually, Tim, I think he hit all the courages.
Definitely hit all of them.
Yes.
Trying to look it up here
So
you can.
I know
cut
this
that
was a
out.
long episode today, and but I would like to highlight a couple of things that are still sitting with me after this conversation. And something I can completely relate to is that you don't just get over grief, you learn to live with it. That is something that is oh so true.
Yeah.
Could you relate to
it's
that,
much
Tim?
harder. It's much harder in the beginning. It's more raw. You miss what was once in front of you or what you once had, and it gets easier, but you're still going to have moments where you look back and you're sad. And we talked about it before. It's good to sit with it and name it to tame it, but
Well,
it
and
gets easier.
it will destroy you. It will, I think he even talked about that like the bitterness that was poisoning him. But going back to learning to live with it, it's not that we don't love or miss our loved ones or whatever however, hold on a second. It's not that we don't miss our loved ones or love them any less, but that emptiness will destroy you if we do not learn to laugh again and have hope. And I definitely could relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've heard that message from a couple of our guests previously.
So, Tim, I know that as we wrap up this episode, that there's probably several directions of self-reflection questions you could leave us with. And did you come up with something?
I did. I really liked Ron's take on how people say, live life like it's your last day. And he said that's not right.
Live life to
he
the
said,
fullest.
live life to the fullest like it's your last day. But he actually says treat others like it's their last day. So I think a good question to leave the listeners is, what do you need the courage to do differently if you want to treat others like this day may be their last?
Until next time, goodbye, friends.
Thanks, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Did today's episode give you a little boost of hope and encouragement right when you needed it? If it did, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even share it with someone who could use a little light today. For extra content and more from this podcast, make sure to follow us at Instagram at letitbe.podcast. And remember, there's still beauty unfolding in your story.